My oven decided to stop working the other day, right when I was baking a pumpkin pie. So today I'm going to show you what I did to figure out what was wrong with it, and then how I fixed it. Quick disclaimer, I'm not an appliance specialist or technician. I'm just trying to save some money by fixing this myself. So one of the first things you might want to do is check to make sure that your heating elements are still intact. Here you can see there are no breaks in the heating element or any damage on the surface, so it seems pretty unlikely that it's the problem with that, but we'll verify that later as well. And my broiler elements actually stopped working a couple of years ago, but I don't use it very much, so I didn't care. I want to check the resistance of the heating elements, and that requires me to pull the oven out, unplug it, and take out the back so I can reach those terminals. If you don't have one of these are pretty handy. You can just get these at a hardware store, and it just covers that little gap between your oven and the counter. So I'm gonna lift it because I think the front has feet and the back has wheels. So here on the back of the oven in this little pouch is actually a circuit diagram. So I first looked at this to see if there are any fuses in the circuit that might just be easily replaced, but I didn't see any. So on this diagram, you can see the control unit, which goes to the two heating elements, both for the broiler and just for baking. So definitely unplug the oven before you try and work on it. And unfortunately, my outlet isn't very well secured in the wall, so it comes out quite a bit. And I'll tell you about all this in a second here. So here's a little cautionary tale. When I first discovered my oven wasn't working, I pulled it out from the wall and unplugged it. And I saw that this metal faceplate was loose, but I just kind of left it there because it had been there forever. And when I went to go plug this back in, this actually fell down off the face of the outlet and then bridged these two prongs of the outlet here and caused the biggest spark I've ever seen right in front of my face. So be super careful. And if you have any doubts about it, really go turn off the breaker for the oven on your circuit breaker panel. With this metal faceplate, I think I'd rather have a plastic one, but really all I need to do is get some screws to make sure that it stays on the outlet properly. All right, now we just need to take off this back panel so we can get to the electrics. All right, with this back plate pulled back, we can see the terminals for the broiler up here and the terminals for the bake element down here. In order to check these with the multimeter, you need to detach at least one of these wires so that it's not part of the circuit anymore, so you can get an accurate reading across the element. To measure the resistance of each element, we can use a multimeter like this one, and you just need to make sure to put it onto the ohm setting, which is that omega symbol there. I read online that these elements should be about 20 to 30 ohms resistance, and so I have this on the lowest range, and also make sure that your probes are plugged into the right sockets. So again, we need to unplug one of the wires. There we go, that is easy enough. I'm just gonna unplug both of them. Then you just put the probes against the terminals. 19.1. So that coil should still be good. And then we'll do the same for the bake element. All right, 21 ohms. If the probes aren't touching at all, then it's an open circuit. And if you got a measurement like that on the element, that means that your element is dead. In my experience, things often stop working for the simplest reasons. So it's a good idea to just look at the wiring and sometimes feel it to see if there are any obvious breaks in any of the wiring. One of my other theories about why the oven might not work is that maybe the temperature sensor wasn't working. And so this is the back of it right here with this little plug. And on that circuit diagram, there's a little table here that shows what the resistance of this temperature probe should read at different temperatures. So here it's in Fahrenheit. We're at about 75. It's not that warm in here. So we should read about 1090 ohms resistance across these terminals. So let's check that. So I'm just gonna unplug this little connector there. On the multimeter, we'll change the resistance range up to 2000 because this should be about 1000. Here we can see it's 1077 ohms, which sounds right because this should be 1091 at 75 degrees Fahrenheit and at 68 Fahrenheit in my house. So with that, I think the temperature probe is okay. So that probably means that the problem is up here where the control board is. With this top panel off, we can see here is the control board for the oven and the broiler elements. And then these are the controls for the stovetop, which still works. Looking at all these connections, superficially, they look okay. you can see the wires going down to the temperature sensor and then the wires going down to the two heating elements. And when I turn on the oven, I can still hear the relays clicking on and off, but it seems that no voltage is getting down to the heating elements. If you have a multimeter, you might find it tempting to plug the oven in and actually try and measure voltages back here. I really don't recommend that though, because you can get a deadly shock. So right here on the control board, you can see its model number, and using that number, I was able to go online and order a new one. Here's the new control board. So the first thing we need to do is take the old one out. And when you do that, it might be a good idea to take a photo of how these wires are all arranged before you start pulling them out. These wires happen to be labeled and correspond with the labels on the circuit board, so it shouldn't be too hard to do. We'll start by pulling out all the wires. Whew. All right, it might be easier with some pliers. That's better. Just 4 more screws. Oops. Here's the front of the new control unit, and it actually just comes like this without the faceplate. So luckily when I was buying it online, I saw that it said frequently purchased with one of these. With the display out, now might be a good time to clean off all the stuff that's built up here over the years. Now we'll just mount this back in with the same screws. Now it's time to put all these wires back, and if you took a picture, you can refer to this while you're putting these back in. Too easy. With the new board in, now I just want to put all the panels back on so we can plug it in and test it safely. Let's plug it back in and see if it works. Let's turn on to 350. I can smell and feel that the oven is now working. So there we go, it's fixed. And let's test the broil element as well. And let's hit broil. High, sure. Broil. All right, for the first time in years, my broiler element is working. Here you can see the new display all installed. In total, I spent about $230 fixing this oven, which is a much better deal than spending $800 or more on a new one. So I hope this video has been helpful for you.